I'm Olivia Montgomery, 28, and I never thought my own family would betray me like this. After 5 years of saving for my dream home, I discovered my sister had emptied my account to buy herself a luxury car with my parents' blessing. What happened next changed everything about how I view family loyalty, and taught me that sometimes the sweetest revenge isn't what you plan, but what life delivers. Hey everyone! Before I dive deeper into this family nightmare, I'd love to know where you're watching from. Are you team family first, or team protect yourself? Drop a comment below. Hit that like button if you've ever been betrayed by family. And subscribe for more real-life drama that proves truth is stranger than fiction. Now let's get into how my perfect family facade crumbled overnight. Growing up in suburban Chicago, I was raised to believe that family meant everything. My parents, Robert and Eleanor Montgomery, were respected community members, Dad a successful attorney, and Mom running a popular local bakery. They instilled in us traditional values, loyalty above all else, sharing everything, and the golden rule that family always comes first. This mantra was repeated at every family dinner, every holiday gathering, and especially during any conflict resolution. My younger sister Melissa and I were only 2 years apart but worlds away in personality. While I was the responsible, practical one who planned meticulously for the future, Melissa was spontaneous, charming, and somehow always the center of attention. She had a way of lighting up rooms and winning people over with her vibrant personality. Our parents adored her spirit, often excusing her impulsive decisions as just Melissa being Melissa. I, on the other hand, earned approval through achievement, responsibility, and reliability. After college, I took a job at a marketing firm and moved into a modest apartment determined to save for a house. I lived frugally, meal prepping instead of dining out, taking public transit instead of splurging on a car, and working overtime whenever possible. Every paycheck I diligently transferred money into my dedicated future home savings account. This wasn't just any account, it represented 5 years of sacrifices, overtime hours, and dreams of having a place to call my own. Melissa took a different path. She bounced between jobs that interested her, temporarily lived in our parents' guest house rent-free, and spent money as quickly as she earned it. Her Instagram showcased weekend trips, designer clothes, and brunches at trendy restaurants. Whenever she ran short on cash, our parents were there with a temporary loan that mysteriously never needed repayment. Despite our differences, we maintained a close relationship. We met for weekly coffee dates, where she'd entertain me with stories of her adventures, while I shared updates about my growing savings account and the neighborhoods I was researching. She knew exactly how much I had saved, $87,000, and how close I was to my $100,000 down payment goal. She had listened to me talk about floor plans and backyard designs for years. Our parents had always emphasized equality between us, but their actions told a different story. When I received a promotion, they would say, "That's wonderful, but don't work too hard." When Melissa quit another job to find herself, they praised her courage. I ignored these subtle differences, telling myself that my sister simply needed more support, while I was naturally independent. Last Christmas, during our family gathering, I announced that I was nearly ready to start house hunting. By next summer, I should have enough for the down payment on a modest 3-bedroom, I told everyone excitedly. My parents smiled politely, but Melissa seemed unusually interested, asking detailed questions about when I planned to make a move, and which banks offered the best mortgage rates. Looking back, I should have noticed the signs. Melissa had been complimenting my financial discipline more frequently. She had asked to borrow my laptop several times, claiming hers was being repaired. She had even offered to help me research properties, something completely out of character for someone who lost interest in projects quickly. In February, I received a call from my bank about unusual activity on my accounts. Thinking it was a routine security check, I verified my identity and asked what seemed suspicious. The representative's response froze me in place. There was a wire transfer of $75,000 to an auto dealership 3 days ago. We wanted to confirm this was authorized. My heart stopped. I hadn't made any such transfer. I immediately placed a fraud alert and drove straight to the bank, my hands shaking on the steering wheel. The banker pulled up the transaction details. And that's when I saw it. The transfer had been initiated online from my own computer using my credentials. The money had gone to Luxury Motors, a high-end car dealership in our city. My first thought was identity theft by some anonymous criminal. But then the banker mentioned something that made my blood run cold. The confirmation email for this transaction was forwarded to an address, melissa@gmail.com. Is that yours as well, Melissa? My sister had stolen my house fund. I called her immediately, my voice trembling with rage and disbelief. She didn't answer. I texted her, "I know what you did. Call me now." No response. I drove to our parents' house where she still lived in the guest house, only to find an empty driveway. I banged on my parents' door instead. Mom opened it, her expression immediately shifting from welcome to concern when she saw my tear-streaked face. "Olivia, what's wrong? Where's Melissa?" I demanded, pushing past her into the living room. Dad was there reading the newspaper as if it were any normal day. "She's out," Mom said cautiously. "She got a new car. She's probably taking it for a drive." "A new car?" I laughed bitterly. "You mean my car, the one she bought with my money?" My parents exchanged a look that confirmed everything. They knew. They already knew. "Sit down, Olivia," Dad said firmly, folding his newspaper. "Let's discuss this rationally." Rationally, Melissa stole $75,000 from me, my house fund, 5 years of savings. My voice was rising uncontrollably. Mom placed a hand on my shoulder, which I immediately shrugged off. "Honey, Melissa explained everything. She said you agreed to loan her the money. She said you were being generous because she finally found her passion in car sales and needed a proper vehicle to look professional." I stared at them dumbfounded. "And you believed that? That I would just hand over my entire house fund for a car?" Dad cleared his throat. "She showed us the transfer confirmation. She said you did it willingly. She stole my password. She made the transfer herself." I pulled out my phone and showed them the banker's notes about the forwarded confirmation. "Look, she even had it sent to her email." Instead of the outrage I expected, my parents' expressions hardened. Dad stood up and said the words that would forever change our family dynamic. "Olivia, I think you're overreacting. Melissa would never steal. You've always been jealous of her. Maybe you agreed to this and now you're having regrets." The room seemed to tilt. My own parents didn't believe me. Worse, they were defending the person who had stolen my future. The days following my discovery were a blur of rage, disbelief, and heartbreak. I filed a police report despite my parents' vehement objections. "You're really going to drag family matters to the authorities," Dad had shouted when the officers arrived at their house. "This is between you and your sister." The investigating officer, Detective Rivera, was sympathetic but realistic. "These cases can be complicated when family is involved," she explained gently. "The transfer was made from your home computer using your credentials. Without clear evidence of forced entry or hacking, it might be treated as an authorized transaction that you now regret." Meanwhile, Melissa had returned home driving a gleaming midnight blue Mercedes convertible. When confronted, she didn't even deny accessing my account. Instead, she spun an elaborate story about how I had verbally promised her the money months ago. "Olivia always said she'd help me establish my career," she told our parents with tears in her eyes. Tears I knew were as fake as her story. "I finally found my calling in luxury car sales, and she said having the right image was crucial. She offered to help with the down payment as an investment in my future." What infuriated me most wasn't just the theft, it was how easily my parents believed her. Mom even had the audacity to say, "Olivia, you've always been good with money. You can save it again. Your sister needs this opportunity now. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. It took me 5 years to save that money, 5 years of overtime and missed vacations and cheap apartments with roommates, and you're young enough to do it again, Dad replied dismissively. Melissa has found her path. We need to support her. That evening, I received a group text from my mother: family dinner tonight, 7 p.m. We need to resolve this situation as a family. I almost didn't go, but something drove me to confront them face to face one more time. When I arrived, I found my parents and Melissa sitting at the dining table with an unexpected guest, Uncle Richard, my father's brother, and a respected judge. My heart sank. They had called in reinforcements. Olivia, Uncle Richard began solemnly, your parents have explained the situation. I'm here as a neutral party to help mediate. Neutral, I laughed bitterly. You've been coming to our Christmas parties for 28 years, you're hardly neutral. He ignored my comment. I understand you're upset about the money, but taking legal action against your sister will only tear this family apart. The police report has already caused significant distress. The theft caused significant distress, I corrected him. The police report is the consequence. Uncle Richard slid a document across the table. We've prepared a family agreement. Melissa will repay the money over 10 years interest-free. In return, you'll drop the police report and keep this matter private. I scanned the document, my hands shaking with anger. 10 years. So I get my house when I'm 38 instead of 28. And no interest. She stole from me and now she gets a free loan. Be reasonable, Olivia, my father interjected. This is the best solution for everyone. Melissa needs this car for her new career. She can't pay it back any faster. She could sell the car and give me my money back right now, I suggested coldly. Melissa's face hardened. I've already registered it for work. My boss expects me to have this vehicle. I'll lose my job without it. A job you've had for what, 2 weeks? After being unemployed for months, I turned to my parents. Can't you see what's happening here? She's manipulating all of you. My mother reached for my hand, which I quickly withdrew. Darling, family means forgiveness. Melissa made a mistake in not discussing this with you properly, but her intentions weren't malicious. I stared at her incredulously. She committed fraud, Mom. She stole my password, transferred my money without permission, and then lied about it. How is that not malicious? Because she's family, my father stated firmly, as if that explained everything. And family protects each other. Then who's protecting me? I whispered, tears finally spilling down my cheeks. Who in this family is standing up for me? The silence that followed was deafening. No one, not my father, not my mother, not my uncle, spoke up in my defense. Melissa looked down at her hands, the perfect picture of contrition, though I caught the slight upturn at the corner of her mouth. She knew she had won. In that moment, I realized a painful truth. The family I thought would always have my back had collectively thrown me under the bus. The betrayal wasn't just Melissa's theft, it was my parents choosing her comfort over my justice, her convenience over my 5 years of hard work. I stood up slowly, gathering my purse. I won't sign this. And I won't drop the police report. What Melissa did was a crime regardless of our shared DNA. Olivia, my father warned, his voice dropping to that authoritative tone he used when we were children. If you pursue this legally, you'll no longer be welcome in this house. The ultimatum hung in the air between us. My mother gasped. Robert, surely you don't mean I do, he interrupted. I won't have one daughter trying to ruin another's future. If Olivia can't handle this within the family, then she's choosing to step outside it. I looked around the table at the faces I had trusted my entire life. Uncle Richard looked uncomfortable but remained silent. Mom seemed torn, but as always would ultimately side with Dad. Melissa's expression was a mixture of triumph and fake sympathy. Then I guess I don't have a family anymore, I said quietly, walking toward the door. I paused with my hand on the doorknob. You know what's ironic? I was saving for a house because I wanted a place where we could all gather for holidays. Where your future grandchildren could have their own rooms when they stayed over. I wanted to create a home for our family. I left without looking back, ignoring my mother's calls. As I drove away, I deleted the family chat from my phone and blocked Melissa's number. The family I knew was gone. It was time to build something new from the ashes of their betrayal. The next few weeks were the hardest of my life. I moved through my days mechanically going to work, coming home to my apartment, and staring at walls that now felt like a prison. My down payment dreams had been stolen along with my family. The silence from my parents was deafening. No calls, no texts, not even an email asking if I was okay. My roommate Jenna became my unexpected rock. "Your family is being ridiculous," she declared, one night after finding me crying in our kitchen at 2 a.m. "You're the victim here, not the villain." She helped me make two crucial decisions. First, I followed through with the police investigation despite my family's threats. Detective Rivera collected evidence including login records showing access to my accounts from my parents' home, IP address, during times I was verifiably at work. The forwarded confirmation email to Melissa's account provided additional proof. Second, Jenna convinced me to see a therapist. "You're grieving," she explained. "Not just the money, but the family you thought you had." Dr. Chen, a compassionate woman with an office full of plants, helped me navigate the hurricane of emotions: betrayal, abandonment, rage, and a deep pervasive sadness. "What you're experiencing is family trauma," Dr. Chen explained during our third session. "Your core belief system that family protects each other, that parents love equally, that honesty matters has been shattered. Recovery isn't just about the money. It's about rebuilding your understanding of trust and relationships." Meanwhile, the police investigation moved forward. 3 weeks after filing the report, Detective Rivera called with an update. "We have enough evidence to charge your sister with fraud and theft," she explained. "The prosecutor believes it's a strong case, especially with the email trail. But I need to ask, are you certain you want to proceed? Family cases can get messy, and they rarely end with everyone feeling satisfied." I hesitated only briefly before answering, "Yes." What she did was criminal, regardless of our relationship. The news of Melissa's impending arrest sent shockwaves through our family circle. Relatives I hadn't heard from in years suddenly called, alternating between pleading for mercy and condemning my vindictiveness. Aunt Patricia, my mother's sister, showed up at my apartment unannounced. "Your parents are devastated," she informed me, standing awkwardly in my living room. "Your father can barely focus at work. Your mother cries constantly. Is this really worth destroying your family over?" "I didn't destroy the family," I replied evenly. "Melissa did when she stole from me, and my parents did when they defended her instead of me. But to involve the police against your own sister..." Aunt Patricia looked genuinely bewildered. "Whatever happened to working things out privately?" "That option disappeared when they presented me with the joke of a repayment plan and threatened to disown me if I didn't accept it," I explained, surprised by how calm I felt. Dr. Chen's sessions were helping. I was beginning to see that I wasn't crazy for expecting justice even from family. The fallout continued at work when I received a LinkedIn message from Uncle Richard. "Your father tells me you're proceeding with charges. I strongly advise against this course of action. Your sister's career will be ruined with a fraud charge. Think about her future." I didn't bother responding. Instead, I threw myself into rebuilding my financial security. I took on freelance marketing projects on evenings and weekends. I created a strict new budget that made my previous frugality look indulgent. Every dollar was accounted for, every expense questioned. My new goal wasn't just to replace what was stolen, it was to become financially unassailable. My boss, Miranda, noticed my increased focus and the late hours I was putting in. During our monthly check-in, she asked directly, Olivia, is everything okay? You've been working like someone running from something. I surprised myself by telling her everything. She listened without interruption, her expression growing increasingly appalled. When I finished, she shook her head slowly. That's absolutely unconscionable. I'm so sorry your family failed you like this. After a thoughtful pause, she added, "We've been discussing adding a senior marketing strategist position. It would mean more responsibility, but also a significant salary increase. I was going to wait until next quarter to bring it up, but given your situation, would you be interested in interviewing for it now?" The opportunity felt like the first ray of sunlight after a storm. I threw myself into preparation, creating a detailed presentation on expanding our client base and increasing digital engagement. When I presented to the executive team, I spoke with a confidence that had been missing since the theft. The panel was impressed, and I was offered the position the next day, with a 30% salary increase. That same afternoon, I received a call from Detective Rivera. "Miss Montgomery, we've made an arrest. Your sister was taken into custody this morning." My stomach lurched at the reality of what was happening. Despite everything, there was no satisfaction in imagining Melissa in handcuffs. "The district attorney wants to meet with you tomorrow to discuss how to proceed." That night I received my first direct contact from my parents since our confrontation, a scathing email from my father. "Your sister was arrested at her workplace today. She was handcuffed in front of her colleagues and clients. Her career is ruined. Her reputation is destroyed. I hope this vengeance brings you joy, because it has brought the rest of your family nothing but pain and humiliation. Your mother can barely function. You have broken her heart. When you're ready to end this vindictive crusade, let us know. Until then, do not contact us." I read the email twice, searching for any acknowledgement that Melissa had committed a crime, that she had stolen from me, that my pain mattered too. There was none. In their narrative, I remained the villain. Dr. Chen helped me draft a response that I ultimately never sent. "I'm sorry for everyone's pain, including my own. What Melissa did was a crime. My pursuit of justice isn't vindictive, it's a necessary step in my healing. I'm still here if you ever want to recognize that I deserved better from all of you." As I closed my laptop that night, I realized something fundamental had shifted within me. For the first time since the theft, I wasn't crying. The knot of anxiety in my chest had loosened. I was standing firm in my decision regardless of my family's disapproval. Something that had been broken inside me had begun to mend, not into its original shape, but into something stronger. 2 months after Melissa's arrest, I sat across from District Attorney Wilson in his sparse but imposing office. The preliminary hearings had established enough evidence to proceed with a trial, but the DA wanted to discuss alternatives. "Miss Montgomery," he began, shuffling through a folder of documents. "Cases between family members are particularly challenging. Juries can be unpredictable when blood ties are involved. While we have solid evidence of fraud, I want to present you with an option, a plea deal." He outlined the terms. Melissa would plead guilty to a lesser charge of unauthorized access and theft. She would receive probation instead of jail time, be required to complete financial management courses, perform community service, and most importantly to me, make full restitution. She would repay the entire $75,000, I clarified. Plus interest, DA Wilson confirmed. And she would have a criminal record, though not as severe as if we proceeded to trial and won on all charges. I considered my options carefully. A trial would drag on for months, possibly years with appeals. It would drain me emotionally and financially. The plea deal offered closure and restoration of my funds. How soon would I receive the restitution? "That's the complicated part," he admitted. "She doesn't have the money. The car has significantly depreciated in value, and she lost her job following the arrest. We would establish a payment plan, but realistically it could take years to recover the full amount." I sighed, feeling the weight of this new reality. So we're back to a long-term payment plan, exactly what my family proposed in the first place. Not exactly, D.A. Wilson corrected me. This would be court-ordered with legal consequences for non-compliance. And it would come with an admission of guilt and a criminal record. The family arrangement had none of those safeguards. As I left his office, promising to consider the offer, my phone buzzed with a notification from my bank. I had a new message in my secure inbox. Probably another statement, I thought, but when I opened it, I froze in the middle of the sidewalk. There was a deposit notification. $82,500 had been transferred into my account from something called Montgomery Family Trust. I immediately called my bank to verify the transaction was legitimate and not another fraud. The representative confirmed it had come from a valid trust account with proper authorization. Confused, I checked my personal email and found a message from an unfamiliar address, gmontgomery@wilkinslaw.com. The subject line read simply, "Long overdue. Dear Olivia, you don't know me well, but I am your grandmother, Gloria Montgomery, your father's mother. We've met at family gatherings over the years, though your father has largely kept me at arm's length from you girls. I recently learned of the situation between you, your sister, and your parents. News travels especially when arrests are made. What was done to you is unforgivable, not just the theft but the betrayal by those who should have protected you. I have deposited $82,500 into your account. This represents the $75,000 that was taken, plus interest for the time you've been without it. This money comes from the trust I established years ago for family emergencies. I consider the failure of your parents to act justly an emergency of the highest order. I would like to meet with you if you're willing. There's much about your family history. You should know patterns that have repeated themselves in ways that might help you make sense of recent events. Regardless of whether you wish to meet, the money is yours, with no strings attached. It is your birthright to be treated fairly, and I will not stand by while Robert makes the same mistakes his father once made. Sincerely, Gloria Montgomery. I read the email 3 times trying to process this unexpected development. Grandmother Gloria was a peripheral figure in our family, present at major holidays, but rarely mentioned otherwise. My father had always described her as difficult and judgmental, which had discouraged me from forming a closer relationship with her. Now I wondered what family history she referred to. What patterns, what mistakes? I immediately called D.A. Wilson to inform him of this new development. The money has been restored, I explained. Does this affect the plea agreement? It certainly changes things, he replied thoughtfully. The restitution was a major component of the deal. I'll need to consult with my team, but this might actually strengthen our position. If we proceed to trial, it shows you've been made whole by a third party who recognized the wrong done to you, which could influence a jury. Let me get back to you. Next, I called Dr. Chen and scheduled an emergency session. I don't know what to think, I admitted as I sat in her office later that day. Part of me feels relieved to have the money back. Another part feels confused about this grandmother I barely know inserting herself into the situation. And honestly, there's a part that's disappointed. Disappointed, Dr. Chen prompted. I wanted my parents to come around. To see what Melissa did was wrong. To choose justice. Instead, it's a virtual stranger who stood up for me. I wiped away unexpected tears. The money is back, but my family is still broken. Dr. Chen nodded understandingly. Recovery isn't always linear, and closure comes in unexpected forms. What are you thinking about doing regarding your grandmother's invitation to meet? The question had been circling in my mind all day. I think I need to go. There might be answers there that could help me make peace with all of this. That evening I replied to Gloria's email, thanking her and accepting her invitation to meet. We arranged to have lunch the following Saturday at an upscale restaurant downtown. The next day brought another shock. My company announced it had been acquired by a larger marketing firm, resulting in immediate organizational changes. Miranda called me into her office, her expression unreadable. "Olivia, I have news. The acquisition has changed our structure significantly." My heart sank, anticipating a layoff. The new parent company was especially impressed with the digital strategy you presented during your senior strategist interview. They want to expand that vision across all their brands and have created a new position, Director of Digital Integration. I stared at her, processing her words. "They want you for the role," she continued, smiling now. "It comes with a substantial salary increase, stock options, and relocation to their headquarters in Seattle. This is a massive opportunity, Olivia. A genuine career leap." Seattle, 3,000 miles from Chicago. From my parents' house, from Melissa, from the site of my humiliation. The timing felt almost cosmic. "I'd need time to think," I said, my mind already racing ahead to new possibilities. "Of course," Miranda replied. "They've given us 2 weeks for a decision, but I should warn you they're very eager to have you on board." As I walked back to my desk, my phone lit up with a notification from the court system. DA Wilson had emailed the prosecutor's office, was proceeding with the case against Melissa, with modified terms given the restitution from Gloria. Despite the repayment, they felt the nature of the crime warranted consequences. By the time I left work that evening, I felt as though the universe was offering me a new path forward. Financial restoration, career advancement, geographic distance, and legal justice were all aligning. Yet questions remained. Who was Gloria Montgomery really? What family secrets was she preparing to reveal? And could I truly start fresh in Seattle? While legal proceedings continued in Chicago, I found myself standing at a crossroads with unexpected options stretching before me. For the first time since discovering Melissa's betrayal, I felt something like hope flickering in my chest. Not just hope for recovering what was lost, but for discovering something new, perhaps even something better. Hey guys, I know I left you on a cliffhanger there. What would you do if you were in my position? Would you take the job in Seattle and start fresh? Or would you stay and see the case through? Drop your thoughts in the comments below and hit that like button if you've ever had to make a tough decision about family relationships. The next part of this story takes an even more unexpected turn, so make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss what happens next. Saturday arrived, and with it my lunch with the grandmother I barely knew. Gloria Montgomery had chosen the Atrium, an elegant restaurant overlooking Millennium Park. I arrived early, my stomach knotted with anxiety. What revelations awaited me? The hostess led me to a corner table, where an elegant woman in her 70s sat straight-backed and composed. Gloria's silver hair was styled in a sophisticated bob, and she wore a tailored navy suit that exuded quiet wealth. She rose as I approached, her eyes, the same hazel as my father's, assessing me with surprising warmth. "Olivia," she said, reaching for my hands. "Thank you for coming. Please sit." After ordering, Gloria wasted no time with small talk. "I imagine you have questions about the money, about why I involved myself in this situation." "Several," I admitted. "Starting with how you knew what happened." "My father certainly wouldn't have told you," she smiled faintly. "Your cousin Diane works at the courthouse." She recognized Melissa's name on the docket and called me immediately. The rest I pieced together through family connections, and I admit having my attorney make some inquiries. "And you decided to pay me back just like that? Why, we've barely spoken 5 sentences to each other my entire life." Gloria took a slow sip of her water. "Because I recognized the pattern immediately. Your father is repeating his father's mistakes, playing favorites, enabling bad behavior, and punishing the child who dares to stand up for themselves." She set down her glass carefully. "What do you know about your grandfather?" "Almost nothing," I confessed. "Dad rarely mentioned him. He died before I was born." Joseph Montgomery was a powerful man in this city, a real estate developer with political connections. He built an empire and expected his sons to follow in his footsteps. Your father did, becoming the family attorney. But his brother, your Uncle William, was different. Creative, sensitive, more interested in art than business. This was news to me. I didn't know Dad had a brother. Exactly, Gloria said pointedly. William has been erased from your family narrative, just as Joseph tried to erase him from ours. Your grandfather favored Robert shamelessly, giving him every advantage while finding fault with everything William did. When both boys were in their 20s, Joseph set up trust funds for them. Robert received his with no conditions. William's came with strings, he could only access it if he joined the family business. I began to see parallels to my own situation. What happened? William refused. He wanted to attend art school in New York. Joseph was furious. How dare his son reject the path laid out for him? In retaliation, he changed the trust agreement. Instead of William receiving his share, the money would go to Robert, who would manage it for his brother and provide an allowance as he saw fit. My stomach tightened. Dad controlled Uncle William's inheritance. Gloria nodded grimly, and wielded that power mercilessly. William had to beg for every dollar. Eventually he left, changed his name, cut all ties with the family. We haven't heard from him in over 30 years. Our food arrived, but I barely noticed it. Why are you telling me this? Because history is repeating itself, Gloria said firmly. Robert learned from his father that favoritism and financial control are acceptable ways to manage family. He watched Joseph elevate one child while diminishing another, and now he's doing the same with you and Melissa. The golden child gets everything. The independent one gets punished. But why didn't you intervene then? With William, pain flickered across her face. I tried in my way. But I was a woman of my generation trained to defer to my husband. I made excuses, tried to mediate, but never stood firmly enough against the injustice. It's my greatest regret. I lost a son because I lacked the courage to properly oppose his father. She reached across the table to grasp my hand. I won't make that mistake again. I won't lose a granddaughter too. I felt tears threatening. I don't understand why Dad is like this. I've always done everything right. Good grades, steady job, responsible with money. Melissa is chaotic, impulsive, financially irresponsible. Why does he favor her? For the same reason Joseph favored Robert over William. Your father sees himself in Melissa, her charm, her ability to work a room, her willingness to bend rules to get what she wants. These are the qualities that helped Robert succeed in his career in his father's world. Your responsibility and integrity remind him of qualities he had to suppress to win his father's approval. I sat back, stunned by this perspective. So my crime is being too honest, too responsible, in a family built on appearances rather than authenticity. Yes, Gloria confirmed. And now you've committed the ultimate sin, exposing family dysfunction to public scrutiny by involving the authorities. Joseph would have reacted exactly as Robert has. As we finished our meal, Gloria shared more about the family history patterns of enabling secret financial bailouts and maintaining appearances at all costs. She explained how she had established her own trust with her inheritance after Joseph died, keeping it separate from Robert's control. I've amended my will, she informed me, as dessert arrived. You will receive your portion directly, not through your father. I've seen how he manages family money. I don't want your money, I said honestly. The repayment was enough. She smiled. It's not about what you want now. It's about ensuring your future security regardless of what path you choose. Speaking of which, I understand you have an opportunity in Seattle. I blinked in surprise. How did you know about that? I make it my business to stay informed about my family, even when they try to exclude me. The position sounds perfect for your skills. Are you considering it? I am, I admitted. But I'm concerned about leaving while the case against Melissa is ongoing. Gloria's expression turned shrewd. Sometimes distance provides clarity. And sometimes the best revenge isn't punishment but success. She reached into her handbag and withdrew an envelope. This contains information about William, his last known whereabouts, contact attempts I've made over the years. If you move to Seattle, you might want to know that his last communication came from Portland. You might find an uncle who understands what you've experienced. As we parted ways, Gloria embraced me warmly. Whatever you decide, remember that family is defined by how people treat you, not just by blood. Some family we're born with, others we discover or create along the way. I left our lunch with my mind spinning. The family narrative I'd accepted my entire life had been dramatically rewritten in the span of a 2-hour meal. The parallels between my situation and Uncle William's were undeniable, suggesting that what I'd experienced wasn't an isolated betrayal but part of a generational pattern. The 2 weeks following my lunch with Gloria passed in a whirlwind of activity. I visited Seattle for an interview with the parent company, touring their impressive headquarters and meeting with the executive team. The city itself captivated me with its waterfront views and vibrant energy, so different from Chicago with none of the painful associations. Meanwhile, the criminal case against Melissa continued to unfold. She had rejected the initial plea offer, apparently believing that a jury would sympathize with her, borrowing from a sister who could afford it. DA Wilson seemed undeterred, informing me that the evidence was strong enough to proceed to trial. My parents maintained their position as Melissa's unwavering supporters. Through the family grapevine, I learned they had mortgaged their house to hire an expensive criminal defense attorney for her. The irony wasn't lost on me. They were financially crippling themselves to defend the daughter who had stolen money, while continuing to shun the daughter who had earned every dollar herself. Dr. Chen helped me process these developments during our sessions. "You're facing multiple significant life decisions simultaneously," she observed. The job offer, the ongoing legal case, the new relationship with your grandmother, and the absence of your parents and sister. "How are you managing all of this?" "Surprisingly well," I admitted. "It's like once the initial shock wore off, I found a strength I didn't know I had. I'm angry and hurt, yes, but I'm also clear. For the first time, I see my family dynamics for what they are, not what I wished them to be." She nodded approvingly. "That's significant progress. What's guiding your decision about Seattle?" I considered the question carefully. "I think I need a fresh start. Not to run away, but to build something new without the shadow of betrayal hanging over everything." The decision crystallized gradually but with increasing certainty. I would accept the Seattle position. I would use the restored funds from Gloria to make a down payment on a condo in my new city. I would authorize DA Wilson to proceed with the case, but I would not feel obligated to attend every hearing or subject myself to the ongoing family drama. When I informed Gloria of my decision over dinner the following week, she seemed pleased. "You're breaking the cycle," she said with obvious pride. "Setting boundaries, pursuing your own path. William would have admired your courage. I hope to find him someday," I told her, "to hear his side of the story." "I hope you do too," she replied. "In the meantime, I'll be visiting Seattle regularly. My best friend from college lives in Bellevue. Perhaps we could build the relationship we should have had all along." As my departure date approached, I received an unexpected email from my mother. The subject line read simply, "Please reconsider. Olivia, I've learned you're moving to Seattle. Please don't make such a drastic decision while emotions are running high. Your father may be stubborn, but he loves you. We both do. Melissa made a terrible mistake, but she's suffering consequences far beyond what's reasonable. Her career is destroyed, she's facing criminal charges, and now she's losing her sister too. We're your family. Whatever has happened, that fact remains. Don't throw away decades of love over one bad decision. Love, Mom." I stared at the screen for a long time, noting what the message didn't say. There was no acknowledgement that Melissa had committed a crime, no recognition of my pain or my parents' failure to support me. The narrative remained the same. Melissa made a mistake and I was overreacting. Even now, my mother's primary concern was how my decision affected Melissa and my father, not how their actions had affected me. With Dr. Chen's guidance, I crafted a response that maintained my boundaries while leaving a small opening. Mom, I'm not moving to Seattle on a whim. I've been offered an exceptional career opportunity that I would be foolish to decline. My decision is professional as well as personal. As for family, you're right that we don't stop being related because of conflict. But a healthy family relationship requires accountability, honesty, and mutual respect. When Melissa stole from me, she violated my trust. When you and Dad defended her actions and threatened to disown me for seeking justice, you made it clear whose well-being mattered more. I'm not throwing away decades of love. I'm acknowledging that love should not require one person to accept mistreatment from another. If someday you and Dad can recognize the harm that was done not just by Melissa's theft, but by your response to it, perhaps we can begin to rebuild. Until then, I need to create a life where I'm valued and respected. I wish all of you well, Olivia. The reply came within hours. I understand your position, but your father remains firm. As long as you continue with this prosecution, he considers your relationship suspended. I hope someday you'll see that family loyalty should come before legal technicalities. I love you. The door will always be open when you're ready to reconcile on terms that don't destroy your sister's future. Mom, I forwarded both messages to Dr. Chen with a brief note. This confirms I'm making the right decision. She responded with a single line. Boundaries aren't punishment, they're protection. You're protecting yourself admirably. 2 days before my scheduled move, D.A. Wilson called with news. Melissa has agreed to a plea deal, he informed me. She'll plead guilty to unauthorized access and grand theft, receive 5 years of probation, perform community service, and attend financial counseling. Most importantly for you, she'll have a felony record, which means this incident will follow her professionally for years to come. What changed her mind, I asked, surprised after her initial rejection. Reality, he said simply. Her attorney finally convinced her that with the evidence we have, a jury conviction was likely, which could mean actual jail time. This way she avoids incarceration. I felt a complex mixture of emotions: relief that the legal process was concluding, satisfaction that there would be real consequences, but also a lingering sadness that it had come to this. Thank you for everything, I told him sincerely. Does this mean I won't need to return for a trial? Correct. The plea hearing is scheduled for next month, but your presence isn't required. You can start your new life in Seattle, without this hanging over you. As I packed my apartment, sorting what to take and what to leave behind, I realized I was making similar decisions about my emotional baggage. Some things I would carry forward: the lesson about standing up for myself, the newfound relationship with Gloria, the knowledge of family history that explained so much. Other things I would leave behind: the need for my parents' approval, the hope that Melissa would somehow transform into a trustworthy sister, the illusion of family perfection I had clung to for so long. 1 year later, I stood on the balcony of my Seattle condo, watching the sunset paint the sky in vivid pinks and oranges over Puget Sound. My new home was smaller than what I might have purchased in Chicago, but the view alone made it worthwhile. Inside boxes sat half unpacked, not from my move a year ago, but from my recent promotion to Executive Director of Digital Strategy, which had come with a larger office and necessitated bringing home my accumulated workspace items. The past year had brought professional success beyond my expectations. My integration strategy had increased digital engagement across all the parent company's brands by 42%. Earning me recognition in industry publications and a substantial performance bonus. I had built a reputation as an innovative, decisive leader, qualities that might have remained dormant in my previous role. My personal life had flourished as well. I'd made genuine friends among my colleagues, joined a hiking group that explored the magnificent Washington wilderness on weekends, and even started dating Adam, a kind and thoughtful software engineer who made me laugh and respected my boundaries. Most importantly, I'd continued therapy with a Seattle-based counselor who helped me process my family trauma and build healthier relationship patterns. Gloria had visited 3 times, staying in a nearby hotel and delighting in exploring the city with me. Our relationship had deepened beyond anything I could have imagined, her wisdom and unconditional support filling some of the void left by my parents' absence. She kept me updated on family matters, though I'd asked her not to share details about Melissa's legal situation unless absolutely necessary. I hadn't heard directly from my parents since moving. My mother had sent a Christmas card with a generic greeting and their signatures, but nothing personal. I'd responded with a polite but distant card of my own. The silence between us remained a wound that had scarred over but never truly healed. As for Melissa, I knew from Gloria that she had completed her plea agreement, was working at a car rental agency ironically, and had moved back into our parents' guest house. The family narrative apparently cast her as the victim of my vindictiveness, while carefully omitting the fact that she had pled guilty to felony charges. I had made peace with this reality, focusing on building my new life, rather than correcting their distorted perspective. Dr. Rivera, my Seattle therapist, had helped me understand that I couldn't control their narrative, only my response to it. The doorbell interrupted my reflections. I wasn't expecting visitors, and Adam was out of town at a conference. Opening the door cautiously, I froze at the sight of my father standing in the hallway, looking older and more uncertain than I'd ever seen him. "Olivia," he said simply. "May I come in?" Wordlessly, I stepped aside. He entered hesitantly, his eyes taking in the tasteful furnishings and spectacular view. "You've done well for yourself," he observed, a note of surprise in his voice. "Yes, I have," I agreed, finding my voice. "What brings you to Seattle, Dad?" He sat heavily on my sofa, uninvited. "Your mother had a health scare last month. Nothing serious in the end, elevated blood pressure that needs monitoring, but it made me think about things. Regrets. Missed opportunities." I remained standing. "I'm sorry to hear about Mom. I'm glad she's okay. Gloria told us you've been promoted, that you're doing exceptionally well." He glanced around again. She was right. Gloria and I speak regularly, I confirmed, watching him process this information. "She's been very supportive." "Yes, well, she always did have strong opinions about how families should operate," he said, with a hint of his old defensiveness. Then he seemed to catch himself. "That didn't come out right. I meant, she has clear values. Always has." An uncomfortable silence stretched between us. Finally, I asked directly, "Why are you here, Dad, after a year of no contact?" He sighed deeply. "I received some papers last week, legal documents from the bank that financed Melissa's car." He pulled an envelope from his jacket. "It seems there were irregularities in the loan application, falsified income statements, forged employment verification. The bank is pursuing fraud charges." I felt a chill. "That has nothing to do with me. My case was resolved." "I know. That's not why I'm here." He looked up at me, his expression haggard. "When the bank investigator interviewed us, Melissa broke down. She admitted everything. Not just the theft from you, but a pattern of financial manipulations I wasn't aware of. Credit cards in Mom's name. Loans using our house as collateral without full disclosure to us. She's been," he struggled, visibly lying to us for years. The revelation hung in the air between us. After a moment, I sat across from him. "I'm sorry, Dad. That must have been difficult to hear." "It was," he admitted. "But not as difficult as realizing how wrong I was about you. About everything." He met my eyes directly. "You were telling the truth all along, and I refused to see it." I chose to believe what was convenient rather than what was right. I failed you as a father, and I don't know if you can ever forgive that, but I had to come and say it to your face. I was wrong. I'm deeply, profoundly sorry. The words I had longed to hear for over a year washed over me like cool water. Not just the apology but the acknowledgement, the recognition of the truth. Your mother wanted to come, he continued, but someone needed to stay with Melissa. She's not in a good place right now. But Mom sent this. He handed me a sealed envelope. She wrote everything she couldn't say to you directly. I took the envelope feeling its weight, both physical and emotional. Thank you for bringing it. There's something else. He withdrew another document from his jacket. Gloria mentioned you've been trying to locate William. My brother. He said the word as if testing how it felt in his mouth after decades of avoidance. This is everything I know. His last name changed his art school records. It might help your search. I accepted the paper, stunned by this unexpected olive branch. Why now, after all these years? Because Gloria was right about the patterns, he said quietly. I became my father. I lost a brother because of it, and I nearly lost a daughter for the same reason. I don't want that to be my legacy. We talked for hours that evening, really talked perhaps for the first time in our lives. There were difficult moments, painful admissions, and unresolved tensions. The breach wasn't fully healed, nor would it be from a single conversation. But a door had opened, allowing the possibility of a new kind of relationship, one based on truth rather than appearances, on accountability rather than authority. As he prepared to leave, Dad paused at the door. Your life here, it suits you. You seem stronger. I am, I confirmed. Sometimes losing what you thought you needed makes room for what you truly deserve. He nodded thoughtfully. I hope to be part of that future if you'll allow it. On your terms, not mine. After he left, I returned to my balcony, watching the city lights shimmer across the water. The universe had delivered a resolution I hadn't sought or expected. Not a Hollywood ending, where all was forgiven and forgotten, but something more authentic, a reckoning, an acknowledgement, a chance to build something new from the ashes of what had burned. The sweetest revenge hadn't been Melissa's legal consequences, or my parents' belated realization of her deception. It had been my own resilience, my ability to create a life of purpose and joy despite their betrayal. In choosing myself, I had won something far more valuable than money or vindication. I had found my true worth independent of family approval or external validation. As I opened my mother's letter, I felt at peace with whatever it might contain. My happiness no longer depended on their recognition. My success was my own, and in that knowledge was a freedom no betrayal could ever take away. Hey everyone! Wow, what a journey this story has been to share with you all. I've read every single one of your comments, and I'm amazed by how many of you have dealt with similar family situations. Has anyone else experienced that moment when a toxic family pattern suddenly becomes clear, or found that success truly is the best revenge? Drop your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe to my channel for more real-life dramas and the life lessons they teach us. Your support means everything as I continue sharing these personal stories. Share this video with someone who might need to hear that it's okay to choose yourself, sometimes even when family is involved. Thank you all for being part of this healing journey with me, and remember, sometimes the family we choose is more valuable than the one we're born into. See you in the next video.